What's up? Actually, let me move this that way. How is it going, everybody? I can't tell if this audio is too loud or not. But hi! Happy Thanksgiving if any of you are from Canada. I don't think any of you are, though. Hey, Allison. Mondays, man. I hope you all had a good weekend. I had my Thanksgiving dinner yesterday. I'm still full. I had leftovers for lunch at work. I did have to work today, unfortunately, but I am still here. But yeah, we're winging it for this live stream. I didn't really write any notes. Just thought I'd touch base on kind of the highlights of last week and kind of ease into what happened on today's episode as well. Thank you, Kaiwan. Oh, man. But yeah, it was an okay weekend, even like weather-wise. We took our dog to the dog park early in the day yesterday before Thanksgiving dinner. And just to take in probably what would be the last bit of decent weather. And let's see. Yeah, and then came home. Obviously, the food was cooking. Honestly, a lot of it was starting the night before, like Friday. And then the rest of it, Saturday, we kind of like slowly cooked it. So that it would be ready for around dinner time. Thanks, Allison. But yeah, welcome to General Hospital Envy, my GH After Show. Hey, SLJ. Didn't see the episode. We're not going to touch on it too much. We're really just going to kind of like some of the stuff that happened on Friday's episode kind of just carried over to this episode in ways that wouldn't surprise people. So you know, I'm going to keep it relatively spoiler free from today's episode, but we'll talk about some of the stuff in terms of like not the details, but like what you would imagine the outcome would have been anyway. From the Friday scenes. But yeah, last week was a pretty solid week on General Hospital, I feel. First of all, Laura's back. I love when Jeannie Francis returns from her vacations. It happened a lot sooner than what I thought. Like, honestly, I'm glad that we didn't have to have Lucky and Jason or whoever go and rescue her. I thought for sure Sidwell would get a hold of Laura and Kevin. But she's back in town. And Jeannie and Jonathan, they rocked their scenes. Hey, Sandy. Allison, you said you wish you lived somewhere where you got winter. Oh, I would trade places with you any day. I don't despise winter with every fiber of my being, but I could do without it. You know what I mean? There's some things that I do love about winter, like the first snowfall, you know, seeing how beautiful the snow looks when it's not that cold. But when it's cold, it's damn cold here. So that's usually like January, February, though, in all fairness. But yeah, Jeannie and Jonathan, they had their reunion scenes, and it was every bit as emotional as you would imagine it being. Obviously, Laura seeing Lucky for the first time in years. Lucky seeing his mom for the first time in years. He had gotten the news that unfortunately he can't donate his liver to Lulu because of some parasite that was inside of him from drinking unfiltered water from his many travels. So his liver's not healthy enough for Lulu. And while Laura was at first very happy that Lucky was back in town, because, you know, she thought for sure he'd be able to donate, Lucky had to break the news to her. And oh my gosh, I felt so bad just watching Laura's heart just shatter into a million pieces. Yeah, I'm glad she's back too, Allison. But yeah, like Lucky finding out the news. One thing that I didn't like last week, and it would have happened before these scenes, was Lucky's reaction to the news that he couldn't donate. He trashed Bobby's, threw a full-on tantrum. He was about to run away. He asked Jason for, a way to get back or back to Africa, essentially, or just away from here. He was gonna not say goodbye to Aiden. He was just gonna ditch. Clearly he doesn't, because Laura is there and she asks him to stay because she's gonna need support. Just in case Lulu doesn't make it. So I don't know. It was just great scenes. Like, first of all, Jonathan Jackson can cry like nothing. Same with Jeannie. And so like these were heavy ass scenes, and I don't know, they just rocked it. And like, while I was kind of annoyed at Lucky's behavior leading up to the scenes in the chapel where he's praying, I'm just honestly grateful that we have someone as talented as Jonathan Jackson back on the canvas again, and getting to see him act alongside Jeannie Francis again is just like chef's kiss. And I'm looking forward to more of their scenes. We didn't see him in Monday's episode, but there was a bit of continuation with it. Obviously, last week when the news broke that Lucky couldn't be a donor. Oh, I'm frozen? I don't know. Am I frozen to everyone else? Let me know. Yeah, guys, let me know if I'm frozen to everyone else. I'm not too sure. Oh, actually, you might be right. Okay. In all fairness, my computer is actually lagging a lot today, so that's probably why. And I apologize for that in advance. Let me see if I can do anything. I don't think I can do much about it. It's probably because I've got some other things open, but I will try my darndest. Not frozen. Lucky was an alcoholic and a drug addict. Yeah, but he was in recovery for both. We don't know if he started drinking again while he was in Africa. Although it wouldn't surprise me if Lucky relapsed from not being able to be a donor. You're moving then not moving. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. My computer is lagging a lot. So apologies in advance. I don't know what's been going on with my computer lately, but it's just been, the last few days have been really disastrous. But as long as you can hear me and occasionally see me not moving, hopefully this will suffice. And hopefully my computer will fix. I gotta go through and just kind of see what I can do to make it not freeze all the time. But anyway, where was I? Lucky. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say if he's gonna relapse or not. Like I said, he hasn't been on screen. He wasn't on screen today. What we do know is that thanks to Olivia, Nina put out I guess a notice about Lulu in their paper. Yeah, it's weird, but your voice is fine. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, and also, like, I had to turn on my computer just before I turned this all on, so my computer is just probably extra laggy because of that, too. But anyway, so Nina put out an ad so that a lot of people can donate, so everyone is kind of rallying for Lulu. We know that Cody also donated. I'm surprised he didn't sooner, or he got tested, not donated. He got tested. The promo for this week showed that they found a donor. We don't know who it is. However, something in the promo made me speculate who it might be. And in all honesty, Cody, did you get? I don't know. I don't think it's Cody. But the promo makes me suspect that we have a character returning that may end up being the donor and may get them back into certain people's good graces. My theory is that it's Gladys. We see in the promo that Sasha gets a knock on the door and she says, "What are you doing here?" and doesn't look too happy. So I don't know. I don't know. That's just speculation on my part. But we'll see. We'll see. Oh, man. But that's my theory. Sam, do you think it's Sam? But Sam got tested, though. Sam got tested months ago. So I don't think it's her. But yeah. I think it's Gladys. I truly think it's Gladys. What if it was Nell Benson? It's not. Does she even have a liver at this point? I know that she could be alive, but like, she was confirmed dead. Not Gladys again. I have no... Okay, so I have not seen any spoilers on if Bonnie is returning as Gladys. But in my head, I'm like, who else would Sasha be shocked to see and disappointed to see? And, you know, in the same promo, it's you know, we see Elizabeth. Oh, it could be Cyrus. You're right. Because she wouldn't be happy to see Cyrus either. But then why would he go to the queues for that? You know what I mean? It's hard to say. But, you know, who knows? We'll see. I'm trying to think what else. My gosh, I can see this lagging so much. Anyway. So yeah, you know, you guys are right. It could be Cyrus or Gladys. It's just the only part of that is that, like, why would Cyrus go to the queues? But we'll see. Meanwhile, on a different end, in a different storyline, Portia's getting her ass handed to her pretty much. Potentially. Well, no, she is. She is, in a way. As you guys know, Portia meddled with some tests to kind of mess with the results of Heather's test that shows that her cobalt levels are super high because she doctored it that way. Brad, being due diligent, and wanting to show that he is capable of doing a good job and being on his best behavior, looks into the matter of why the test could have been messed up. And he discovered by the end of Friday's episode that it was actually Portia who was last using the computer when on the same day that Heather's tests got doctored. And so today's episode was kind of the fallout of that. And so, like I said, I don't want to get too much into Monday's episode just because I know there's people in the chat that haven't watched, but I'm sure you can guess what happened next. And you'll just have to see for yourself. But it was it was nice to see Brad get the upper hand, or have the potential to get it. After she's just been treating him like garbage the entire time. Not that it's not all warranted. Brad being back is sketchy. He did do a lot of bad stuff. I do believe that Brad genuinely just wants to work at GH again and prove himself. And, you know, prove himself to Britt and to all the people that he hurt, that he can be a good person and be a good doctor in the lab. So, you know, I do believe that he is sincere, and I don't think that that is fake. But I do... I mean, obviously, if Brad, hypothetically speaking, were to use this so that Portia backs off of him, it would be classic Brad, but at the same time, she would deserve it. Just saying. But yeah, we'll see how the rest of the story plays out. I mean, obviously, this could potentially lead to Heather getting out of jail. The possible scenarios were discussed in Monday's episode of what could happen, and there are, you know, potential paths that the story could take. Angel, you said the problem with this story, only Portia is concerned about Heather when other people have a reason not to want Heather out, and they aren't stressing like Portia is. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, even Trina's not stressing that much about it. Like, obviously, she'd prefer her not to be in jail, but she also has said to Heather that she deserves her day in court. Like, she would never forgive her. But, she's not... I don't think that Trina suspects that she's going to go after her. I don't even think that Heather's going to go after her. So, if she gets out... we don't know. Even by today's episode, we don't know what's going to happen. There's just discussions between characters, and not even Heather was present. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Now, the other big story last week that led into this week was Sonny potentially turning himself in to make sure that Alexis would get set free. And Carly, Joss, and Sasha should all be concerned as well. Yeah, none of them are. They don't care. I think Sasha would be furious if Heather got out, but she wouldn't be scared for her life. Now, I think... so yeah, going back to Sonny... he was willing to turn himself in to set Alexis free. Christina is being a worrywart that entire week, and she almost confesses to Anna of, you know, basically taking Sonny's gun and driving to the queues. Michael didn't let it happen. So it's Sandy said, did Laura forget Heather kidnapped her from Shady Brook and hid her in the Q's attic? I don't think Laura even remembers. I don't think anyone even told Laura that happened. Because Laura was catatonic at that point. And it was years later that she, you know, became uncatatonic. Even Franco thought his mother was a nut. And everybody. And Elizabeth. Yeah. That's the thing. The most bothersome... Sorry, we keep going back and forth on topics. But just to wrap up the Heather stuff. The thing that no one seems to talk about is that Heather killed people before the cobalt poisoning. Heather killed Maggie, Steve's ex-girlfriend, and tried to frame her for the crimes that Steve committed that he was in jail for, that he is now out. And I think we talked about it a little bit last week, but we talked about it in the live stream briefly. The tribute for Ron Hale, who played Mike Corbin. Scott Reeves is coming back as Steve Weber. Obviously, it's going to tie into to Heather's story in some way. And we're going to see him interact with Elizabeth again and probably reunite with Lucky as well. And we'll see if they touch any subjects with Olivia, because before he went to jail, he was going to marry her. Now she's happily married to Ned. Maybe there's a love triangle on the rise. Hard to say. I wouldn't mind seeing Lisa LoCicero in more stories because I adore her. And I really like Steve and Olivia, actually. I really like them as a couple. But yeah, it's we'll see where that goes. Now, going back to Sonny, we're ending the Heather topic just to keep things moving. But so yeah, Sonny was going to turn himself in. Christina was going to turn herself in because of that. Christina was basically willing to let her mother rot to save Sonny, which is annoying. I mean, she would have gone down too. I think it would have made things worse. But yeah, and then last week as well, the gun that was missing in the river somewhere in Port Charles was found somehow and brought to the PCPD in a way that it was off like security cameras, just, you know, in a blind spot. And it was confirmed to be the gun. Well, all but confirmed. It was confirmed to the audience who knew that the gun was registered to Sonny, that this gun was also registered to Sonny. Monday's episode, I mean, they kind of touched base in the previews. Elizabeth and Rick go to ID the gun. And so I'm sure you can guess that they did. And as a result, things move in a good direction for everyone involved. But we will see. We'll see what happens next, because they're hoping to track down the gun that actually killed Jagger. But we know that gun doesn't exist anymore. So it'll probably just kind of fall into place, and nothing will probably happen. Now, it is certainly a story that I wouldn't mind seeing end quickly, because at this point, the stuff with Jagger, like, Jagger was thrown under the bus and died. And to me, if they had given his death the Austin treatment, I wouldn't have cared personally, because, like, clearly the writers had no intention of keeping Jagger around, keeping him as a viable character. It kind of just felt like perhaps a way to stick it to the former actor that played Jagger first. Not something I can prove, but it feels like it was that way. And that's just my speculation, guys. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see if it just gets dropped and the case goes cold and whatever. But I would disagree, Kaiwan. I'm pretty sure they dissed the previous actor because he kept on trashing GH and Frank Valentini. Had nothing to do with his politics. It just so happens he is, a Republican. But he spent years, and he's not even on the show anymore, trashing the show. So I don't know. And I think, obviously, Ingo being a Republican and not being on the show, it had less to do with that and the fact that he tried to sue the network, so he ain't coming back. But I wouldn't put it past Frank Valentini to recast Jax and give him the Jagger treatment. And to that end, I just think that Frank Valentini seems to have a mean streak when it comes to people that trash him. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. Yeah. No, what it comes down to is, it doesn't matter what his politics were, but when you bite the hand that feeds you, it's not necessarily, it's not right. Two wrongs don't make it right. But, you can potentially expect to get bitten back. Sam's gonna come back in a few years. We'll see. I don't think so. They're killing the girl off, and if they do bring her back, it'll be as a recast, and I don't think anyone's gonna be happy about that. Certainly not Kelly Monaco fans, who already make a big wave about Kelly being booted off the show. But we've talked about it on the stream. She's admittedly phoned it in because she wasn't happy with her storylines, and she's alluded to and threatened to, talk about behind the scenes stuff because she was mad that Billy Miller got booted off the show for, you know, Steve Burton's sake. So, like, I just, you know, it ain't right that Frank Valentini does it, but it's also not that surprising when a boss wants to retaliate for you trashing them. You know what I mean? Like, it ain't right. A lot of these, they should just let Lindsay Hartley be Sam. I mean, I think a lot of people like her portrayal. She's obviously very different from Kelly in terms of her acting styles and her looks and everything, but I don't know. I think that would just piss off a lot more Chemo fans than do any good to keep Sam around. And for what? Like, I don't think the character's writing would get any better under her anyway. Most likely it would just be another case of what happened with Jagger. So, like, I just, you know, if the character dies, she dies, and unfortunately ego comes into play here for certain things. You know, you could say that for Kelly Monaco, you could say that for Antonio Sabato Jr., you can say that for Ingo. You know, they all let their egos kind of dictate what their next moves were, and their next moves were very, I don't know what the word is. It's very, in some ways, I don't know. It's just, if you're unhappy with the show and you're angry at them, but you still want to, like, work, like, there's a way to do certain things. And Steve Burton is a fine example of that, you know? He bailed out gracefully. He didn't hold the policies against the network. He kept his relationships solid on the show. He got work elsewhere, and he got invited back. Ingo went kind of full scorched earth and hasn't worked a single day in Hollywood ever since. And I feel like Kelly's likely gonna go end up in that situation herself, because, you know, all they're gonna see is this girl who wanted to work with her boyfriend and decided to, you know, give crappy performances out of, like, pettiness over it. They gave Jagger the Peter treatment. They wrote him in a corner so bad he could never come back. In record time, though, because Peter damn well survived for like 4 years on this show. I think a lot of that had to do with his connections, but people were begging for him to get killed off. So, and it took them 4 years to do it, and they had to trash so many characters along the way to keep him on for as long as he was. So, yeah, there is a way to act and a way to bail out gracefully if you want to keep doing your thing elsewhere. Some people kind of found, I don't know, people question why Kelly Monaco stayed on for so long when she was so mad for so long, you know? She obviously wasn't enjoying herself the last few years and phoned it in. And, like, me, if I was in a situation where I didn't want to be somewhere, I would be, like, just kind of keeping my head down, doing what I need to do, doing what's good of me, but also seeking work elsewhere. So, like, I don't know. Like any other person would in a job that they don't like, I feel. Laura Wright kept him there. Well, yeah. Yeah, I am curious to see how they're gonna do that to Sam as well, because she has already searched for the gun in the water, but she's out of the water and the gun's been found, and Lulu does have another match, so it's not gonna be that. I think she just needed the money. Well, yeah, I mean, we all keep our jobs because we need the money, but, like, she could have been auditioning elsewhere and looking for other jobs. Like, it's never a smart thing to quit your job and not have a backup plan in place already. But like, you can look for a job while keeping your job, you know what I mean? And she's had 4 years to do it. Oh, you think Sid Will is gonna be the one that kills Sam? I think that's a possibility. We know that Sid Will is seeking revenge on Jason and Lucky and Anna and Holly. So we're gonna see him in Port Charles at some point. Whatever happens to Sam, I want her to go out as a hero. Yeah, freedom of speech is great. Yeah, it's First Amendment rights to have freedom of speech, but it's not freedom of speech without consequences. It's like the analogy: if you scream fire in the middle of a movie theater, and everyone's running and panicking, and people are getting hurt, then there's consequences for your actions. That's all it is. She might have been looking for other work. Times are hard. Yeah, I suppose in a way, like especially over the last year, it would have been a lot harder to find anything because of the writer's strike that went on for so long. But damn, like, if she had just gone out gracefully and not been like being bitter about being let go, then she might have been able to get snatched up by someone else. Especially with like the waves that her fans were making, like, oh, these Kelly Monaco fans are gonna follow her wherever they go. But now, because she's been so open about her bitterness towards the writers and the showrunners, yes, exactly. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences. Yeah, that's what it comes down to, Allison. There's a time and a place, and when you start saying all these things and you're doing it so openly on like social media, like obviously it gets media attention, but it also gets the attention of people that could be your next boss. So it's like references, right? She ain't gonna get references from anyone in the writer's room or producer room for GH. So yeah, people always trying to avoid accountability with the freedom of speech statement. Exactly. Yeah. It's like if you go up to like a cop and say F you and get in their face and act belligerent, then they can just arrest you for harassment. Like, it's like, I don't know. Sometimes you think that would be common sense, but common sense is not so common. But yeah. Not us talking about Kelly Monaco again, right? Sometimes it is a little bit more interesting than the show. Although I will say that the show has been a lot more interesting to me lately. But yeah, what to talk about next? Lucas. I want to talk about Lucas for a minute as well. He got to reunite with Felicia and with Maxie. I really enjoyed Lucas and Maxie's scenes. Her trying to slowly set him up with someone. Not that she has anyone in mind, I don't think, but like, it was just nice to see their friendship. And Maxie's looking so youthful these days, so it really felt like kind of like seeing sparks of the old Maxie, and her personality coming through and being a little bit sassy, and the fact that they were both at Bobby's grave, like that touched me a little bit too, and the hug that they gave each other. It was just nice. Which reminds me, actually no, before I get into what I was about to say there, he also had a reunion with Ava Jerome, and it was a bit chilly. But I did appreciate their conversation. I think that Lucas is keeping the door open for them to have some kind of a relationship because it is his father's sister, and they had a conversation. The reason why things were chilly is because he confronted her on outing Blaze, but it was more so along. I don't like that they had Ava be like, well, it's because I was trying to get leverage on Sunny. He was trying to take my daughter away. Like, you could have just outed a bigot. Like, say that was your reason. Because even I didn't buy her saying that, oh, I did this because of the Sunny custody stuff. Like, what? No. That was a stretch even for Ava. Yeah. I agree, Mikov. Like, well, I'm obviously a bit more left-leaning. Like, I don't look at, like, actors and their politics and let that affect my enjoyment of their character. And I love Dingo as Jax. Like, I think that his character kind of fell off the map a little bit because they didn't seem to want to do much beyond make him, you know, Sunny's sort of stooge. You know what I mean? Like, always the runner-up to Sunny. But I enjoyed his portrayal of the character, and I loved his relationships on the show. I loved his relationship with his daughter, and I loved his relationship with Alexis, despite the actors absolutely despising each other. There, you know, like there's things that it's like, man, we got robbed. But also, I also felt like Jax was kind of unnecessary to the canvas. You know what I mean? At this point, they didn't do much with him. Jax and Nina had potential. I think they had more potential when Michelle Stafford was playing her still, but you know, then they made her fall for Sunny as well. It was like rinse, wash, and repeat. It seems like no writer seems to really know what to do with Jax beyond have him in a pissing match with Sunny every time. And we all know how that goes because, you know, Maurice is king there, so. Sandy, you said, speaking of Blaze, they have got to stop force-feeding us Natalia. Yeah, I'm not into it. Like, I'm glad that Natalia being homophobic and ignorant is in the conversation again. And I seen, so on Tumblr, someone made a post being like, we're going to need some people to, or what? No, they said that they wanted a story where people aren't subscribing to the deception brand because of who is working underneath them. You know, Natalia was pretty homophobic, and to keep her on the canvas or keep her in the workroom with them while Blaze is out there doing something else, like, it just looks bad. And the fact that, like, there's been no fallout to that, are people aware that she works under them? Like, I guess it's something that would have to be researched because it's not something they would necessarily advertise, but it's annoying. She's a little bit like Brenda too. Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, there's no point in Natalia. There really isn't. I think that she, like, I get it. I feel like her and Maurice do have chemistry, but there's just, it's such a polarizing character because of how she treated her daughter and how, while she's like cooled it on that front and sort of softened to it, she's still very much like about it. So, and there's no way to really have her grow because her daughter's not on the show anymore. So I don't know. Like, she's pointless to me. She's pointless. And it sucks because she's a great actor too. But I just, it's just enough. And now that this story where, you know, Sunny and Carly were each other's alibi in Jagger's murder, is most likely being put to rest. Because I truly think that the case is just going to go cold, and it's just going to be sort of, I think it's just going to fade into the background because nobody's enjoying it. Nobody has been enjoying it, and I think everyone's been pretty vocal about it. Can only say that I guess it's like a professor who has lots of sexual scandals, but the college don't really fire him. Yeah. It's wild. And Angel, like Nancy's very bold in her political statements. But I feel like I don't know. There are obviously people that agree with things that she says, and there's people that disagree with the things that she says. But I feel like if she gave that same exact energy about like Democrats, right? Then like all the Republicans would be like singing her praises, right? It's just like, you know what I mean? It's like a no-win situation. Like, she would have more people praising her if like, I don't know. Here's my thing. I feel like, and maybe this is just my take of just observing what I see on social media. It feels like people on the left aren't as like loud on social media. I mean, there obviously are people like Nancy that are loud, but there's not as many of them. Whereas like you'll see like, I don't know, people on the right sort of just bullying people constantly and laughing emoji out of anything that says anything, you know, against their candidate. So it's just like, you know, it's apples and oranges. I just feel like people, there's a loud minority in like the Republican side of things. You know what I mean? But yeah, social media is a mess when it comes to politics. It's just there. I feel like there's stuff in the algorithms that really stoke, and really pin people more against each other than they can be. Because like when I think about like politics, maybe like 20 years ago, whether it was like Republicans versus Democrats and all that stuff, it was nowhere near as insane as it is now. And like for me, like when I'm in Canada, so we're just kind of observing American politics usually, and there's a lot more hype to it than it is here in Canada. Like it's not like we don't care about politics. Ours just aren't as I don't know. There's not as much fanfare. It's just like, yeah, we got to vote for the candidate that speaks to us more. But there's not all this like fanfare and political merch and the like insanity that kind of like seems to go on over there. But now it's like in America, like I don't know. I just don't remember American politics being this batshit crazy like in the States. You know, I there were times where like I favored the Republican candidate more than the Democrat candidate in certain races over the years. So and now it's just like they're so like I don't know, there's just some craziness that's like I don't understand it truly. I think America is more isolation and more leftist nowadays. And there's more isolation Republicans in America and more leftists in America. Trump wins, I'll be in Canada with you. Oh man, you bet. Well, if it happens, you better get out of there quick before he bans Americans from leaving. Who knows? We'll see. It is chaos. Although I will say that, I mean, it's different here because again, we're in Canada, but I have an uncle that is like hardcore Trump fan, with an aunt who is like hardcore leftist. You know what I mean? And they managed to keep a relatively happy marriage, from at least from what I can see. I don't know. I think it's just all in how you handle your conversations about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like people used to be able to talk to each other without just throwing insults after insult after insult. And I say this a lot just in general. Like, this is my take on just politics, because I have friends that are, you know, in the left and in the right, and they are like hardcore Trump fans, and they are like hardcore Kamala fans, and this is like people in Canada that are just observing and rooting for who they want to shape the country next door. You know what I mean? But the way I see it, like, there are so many more things that like we all have in common with each other, and for whatever reason the world has gotten to a point where people so hardcore focus on the things that set us apart. So like, I don't know, it's I see it as like, you know, you can go, if you go to a concert, you can be in a room with like every different kind of person under the sun, but you are in that moment, you're all there to see like one person and enjoying that concert, and you're all coming together and you're, you know, hands on each other's shoulders and singing the songs with strangers, and you don't know what their party is. It doesn't matter. You just know that you all like this one thing, and that's what you're bonding over. And I just feel like there should be more focus on the things that bring people together, rather than what sets them apart. Be it things like their sexuality, their stance on things like abortions, their stance on things like religion and politics in general. Like, you know, there's always going to be people that disagree with each other's belief systems, right? And people's values and morals and things like that. But, you know, at the end of the day, there are far more things that people have in common with each other. And if I feel like if the country can focus on that, then there could be a bit more civility between them, and there can be bipartisanship. And like, I feel like what it seems to be, and I find this, and maybe I don't know if this is my bias or not, but it feels like when it comes to Republicans, they don't want to move an inch for the other side because it could mess with like their own powers, when really what it should be is like trying to make the country better and working together to make it a good country for all the citizens the best way they can, to find the common ground and to find the compromises. You know what I mean? So we'll see. We'll see. Well, I think, Allison, I think the reality is, like, Kamala doesn't like what's going on the border either. You know what I mean? Like, they tried to, like, get something a lot tougher and worked together to make a bipartisan like, infrastructure to sort of conquer the border in a better way. And the Republicans kind of, like, made sure they cut that bill, all because their candidate wanted something to run on. And that's the difference I see. Like, I see, you know, the Democrats trying to compromise and come up with something because they see that there's an issue there. And it seems like the Republicans just kind of want to, like, have it be specifically their win. And it doesn't matter how long it takes, as long as they're the ones that bring in the win, because that seems to be the more important thing. And that shit ain't right. That's what sits wrong with me on that part. Angel, you said, all I know about Canada's politics is that your prime minister or president is hot. We don't have presidents, we have prime ministers. Yes, Justin Trudeau is an attractive man, but he is very polarizing right now. There's people in his party that want him gone. So, there are things that aren't great about him, and things need to be done about that. Watered down bill, except it was the strongest bill that the Americans have come up with in decades, though. So that's how I feel on that. Because Republicans have every chance. Every time they've had a Republican president, they've not done anything to make it any better. So I don't know. It seems like this was the first real effort on everyone's front, to a point where they made it a pretty conservative thing, considering considering all that. So it was the best bill they've created. But to that end, admittedly, they cut the bill for no other reason than they didn't want. Then their candidate did not want it to happen because he needed something to run on. I mean, you'd be right about that. That's the thing. There is a lot of people that want to put their own aspirations in Congress first, above actually making America better. But there are candidates that genuinely want America to be better as well. And I would say that's probably true in both parties. But when there is a party that is riddled with people that are just committed to making sure their guy wins, when there's all these kind of red flags that should be maybe we should find a better candidate to actually get stuff done, and not one that just kind of talks out of their ass. You know what I mean? Truly, and who said that about the age? Allison. Truly, Kamala's obviously a lot younger than Trump, but in general, they should be looking for someone that is young and can sort of appeal to the younger generation, because really it's them that's shaping the future. And this is probably mean to say, but older people are on their way out the door, and they're set in old-fashioned ways, and the world is always moving forward. So you can't try to make something what it once was. That doesn't work in any sort of capacity. It really doesn't work in any sort of capacity. It's and I'm not just talking politics. GH can try to emulate what the show was in the 80s, but it's just not going to be the same thing. You can have bands that can try to make an album that sounded like maybe the fan base's idea of their best album, which maybe happened within the first two albums, and they're 10 albums in. They can try, but it's never going to be the same. And so I think the focus is that you should be moving forward and growing and changing with the times, and realizing, who the people in your country are. And the reality, I think, in America is that there are far more people that are a lot more open-minded about the way the world works. And then there's some people that are just so conditioned to their religious beliefs and their upbringings and, the way things used to be, and they want to rewind to that, but the world should never go back to certain things. It's just this is the day that we're in now. You need to cater to that day and be okay, where do we go from here? We can't go back. How do we maneuver our ways into the future? And then how do we get away from like the bad parts of the past and bring in some good stuff? Yeah, we need someone under 50, honestly. Yeah. You gotta be at least 35 to run for president. Yeah, but 35 is like a pretty decent age. You know, I'm 34. Like, that means in like a year, if I wanted to go into politics, which I'd be damned. I will never do that. But like, you know, the 35-year-olds can appeal to most generations. I feel like even the younger generations look to like the slightly older for like guidance, right? You know, they're like, yeah, they're older, but they're not like old. You know, like they're a bit more experienced and you want that experience, but you don't want someone that's like super stuck in like the past. Yeah, I can't be too young. But like I feel like the bar is low in America for young, right? Like the last two presidents were practically pushing 80. Some older than 80. There are, I think, Trump's like 79 and Biden was like 82 or something like that. And like, you know, like surely you can look to your own grandparents that are around that same age and be like, maybe they shouldn't be in charge of certain things like running an entire country. You know, he worked there for like 10 years. Well, they feel entitled to getting their cake and eating it too, but I think while that should matter in like certain aspects of work, then like, yeah, you deserve to kind of have your cake and eat it. However, when it comes to politics, you have to go in with the mindset that your aspirations are not the priority. The priority is the well-being of the country. Like, that's the job you're signing up for. It can't be about you. It has to be about like what's good for the people in that country. I'll see. So my mom's 76 and can't manage a bank account anymore. My mom is only like, you know, my mom is almost as old as General Hospital. She was born in 63. Just like the same year that GH came on is when she was born. Just slightly younger. But and you know, she struggles with like just doing a simple search for something, or like looking up a step-by-step instructions for figuring something out that she needs to figure out with her own job. And that's frustrating to me, because you know, she's been around technology, she's getting the new phones and stuff, but she's still struggling with like some of the things that I find should be very easy. And maybe that's because I'm, you know, 30 years younger than she is. But it's like, I don't know. And yeah, my grandmother is 82, and she don't know how to use phones, like technology. She doesn't know how to see who called her on her cell phone. She doesn't know how to text anybody, like. And I'm not saying that Trump and Biden are, you know, as, you know, technology challenged as my grandmother. But like, you can't deny that like it is harder to retain information the older you get. So like you need someone that can at least obtain like some like basic stuff. And that's, yeah. So like, you know, 60 is a great start. You know, maybe down the line you can get someone that is in their 40s, and then, you know, go to the 30s, get to the 35 point, and then make that the sort of standard. Yeah, that's the reality of, getting older. You start to notice the things, the declines in all of them. My grandmother, she's so forgetful now, and it's hard to see. It is. It really is. My grandmother, like, she watches General Hospital every day, but she probably couldn't tell you what happened the day before. And when there are repeats, like, she doesn't know that they're repeats, even though all of a sudden these characters that, were dead last episode are suddenly alive again, and nothing registers there, and that's scary. Obama was young. That's true. Obama was young. You're right. But, like, this whole Biden and Trump stuff, like, I'm like, damn, these are, like, seniors, yo. Who was Obama running against? Was it John McCain? How old was he at the time? I feel like it was John McCain. Am I right about that? Was it both times as well? I can't remember. In any case, I don't know how we went from GH to politics, but like, well, no, I do. We were talking about Ingo and Antonio, but I mean, that's true, Kaiwan. Like, I can see why in 2016 America voted for him. Like, it's a unique situation where you have this celebrity, and I feel like The Apprentice, that show that he did, was just, I think, just on its last season. Like, I think he had just wrapped it up. So he had an audience, and I can see the appeal of, like, let's get a celebrity to run the country and shake things up. Totally get that. But like, I feel like there are a large portion of people that were even fans of his, and let me just be clear that long before he was the president, I've never liked Donald Trump as a human being. Never. Not in the 90s when I was a kid, not in the 2000s when I could comprehend a bit more. Certainly not now. But like, I get why he was, voted in. What are we gonna do with Crazy Christina? Oh, please just get her therapy. Get her therapy. I am so tired of her being a hot mess. I thought that the writers had finally gotten to a point where, like, let me see. It just seemed like they were on the verge of making her mature, and I really thought that we were going to see Christina carry this baby to term and give it to her sister and prove herself, and then all this shit happened, and it was a mess. And Kaiwan, I too was a black man growing up in the 90s. I was a black kid. I was a black boy growing up in the 90s. I did not care about that man. Hope Bush Jr. is doing well. He's probably, living his life. He's been the silent politician in this. I think the thing that I find the most fascinating, and sorry that we're like just kind of chilling and hanging out, but I don't have work tomorrow, so I can hang a bit. Christina's a hot mess that doesn't learn. Yeah, they could have grown her up, is the problem. She's got to have a breakdown. I feel like she's having one. Is she not having one now? She thought she's acting like that baby was hers to give away, or hers to keep. Yeah, I was worried about that too. Thank God. I mean, we can't really talk about Monday's episode too much, guys, because I know, Kaiwan, you haven't seen Monday's episode. Nobody liked the Christina story. I mean, they could have just given Molly and TJ the damn kid and had them go off screen and live happily ever after. But alas, here we are. Hot mess Christina being hot mess again. Yeah, Angel, I was never a fan. I was never a fan. There's just something that always rubbed me the wrong way about that man. He always seemed fake to me. Christina didn't learn nothing from falling out that shoddy window. Mm-hmm. That's facts. But yeah, we'll end the stream soon here. I guess in terms of like politics, the last thing I want to say is I do find it fascinating and like shocking, but in a good way, that there actually do seem to be a large amount of Republicans that are speaking out against Trump and want a better candidate. And a lot of them that are willing to vote for Kamala just to get Trump out. Like, they're just like, yo, like, this can't be the face of our party. Because I feel like there's a lot of people that probably see very much like some of us observe here in Canada when we're watching the States, and that, like, that's not the Republican Party that I knew about growing up. And, like, this is, like, weird and, like, bizarrely culty. So, like, it's, like, creepy, you know? Like, I think that anyone on both sides would look at someone who's, like, been, like, accused of, like, being a sexual predator, and they have recordings of him saying, like, sexually predator kind of stuff, and, like, seen him, you know, conning people and not paying people for their stuff. I feel like there was a point in time where, like, anyone on any side would look at a man like that and be like, no, this man's not going to be, like, this man is not fit to be the president. Get a better candidate. Get a better candidate. Like, that's what I feel like the parties of old would have done. Whether it was, you know, if it was a Democrat doing all those things, and there was all this proof, including their own voice saying certain things, they would be like, boy, bye, even now. But I feel like collectively, 20 years ago, both sides would have done that to a candidate on their side and been like, boy, bye, find someone else. Yeah, I'm not saying that there isn't any supporters. Like, obviously there's going to be supporters in every state, I would imagine. Like any candidate, you know, they're all going to have their supporters. But yeah, like there's a huge wave of, like, Republicans that just want, like, normalcy on their end, so they're willing to, like, vote for just getting their country back to something that seems normal, so that, you know, the Republicans that are keeping this man on the top, or trying to, will see that that's not going to work for even people on your side, because you don't see, like, Democrats jumping ship to Republicans for this particular race, but you see Republicans voting with the Democrats because that's how, like, insane he feels to even, like, people that have the sort of classic morals and values of the Republican Party. You know what I mean? Yeah, that shit was wild even back then. And, like, I don't know, I look at all this other stuff that's happened since then, and it's just like, I don't know, it's like, it's wild. Like, it's so bizarre to me, like, all this other stuff, and y'all don't care? Y'all don't care? Oh, that's what's crazy to me. And, like, you know, I feel like I'm fair. I will listen to, like, podcasts from both sides, and I will watch reluctantly. Like, I'll sit through an entire Trump rally just to kind of see if he says anything of, like, value, and, like, it's never the case. It's always, like, weird ramblings and, like, bragging about things that he claims that he can do. but never how he's gonna do them. And like, I don't know. Not wanting to do an interview because he didn't want to get fact checked is wild. Like, man, I don't know. It's the progressiveness of being a Trump supporter that will get you. So I'm saying, yeah, some say he's Hitler 2.0. The fact that his vice president nominee has even said the same thing about him. It's like, I don't know. I just, the thing that confuses me, and maybe it is because there is something to be said about the cult theory, because it really does feel that way. Like, and he won't debate Kamala again. Yeah, I just feel like if I were just like, let's say I was a full-blown Republican, and just like in the classic sense of the word, the sort of morals and values and all that stuff, and I was seeing everyone that ever worked under him speaking out against him, and all of these other Republican politicians like saying that they're going to support Kamala, because like to that end, like 100 GOP officials like endorsed her, and that's just politicians. And there's people that are like, well, so what would a few politicians say? It was like, okay, but if the politicians themselves are saying it, then odds are there's a lot of Americans saying it, and they don't hear that part. Like, they would rather believe there's some kind of conspiracy against him, when it's just like, no, like, we're just common sense people. Like, we don't think everything is you know, rigged in certain parties' favor. It's just like, when you bring up, like, when you have a shit candidate, people take notice. And there are some that there's probably some that will always vote party, instead of like what they believe is best for the country overall, no matter who the candidate is. But there are some that like can look at him and be like, this ain't right, you know what I mean? Yeah, no, there's validity in that for sure, Kaiwan. Like, that's the thing. Like, there are people that are like far extremist rights, and I think that, you know, in America, I think a lot of people can see that there's good reasons to sort of lean in the center of whichever party you're in, because you can kind of acknowledge that there needs to be a compromise, because the reality is there are all kinds of different people in America, and you shouldn't be catering to just one certain kind. And that seems to be the current state of that party's MO, is to focus on a small portion of the country and expect that everyone is going to vote for them, when there's like all these other Americans, be it Republicans or Democrats, that are like, you know, that are like, no, like, you can't just cater to them. There's a whole other thing over here. And, you know, it is the majority over there. Yeah, I think that's the reality of it. It's like, you know, people can see that, like, there's some, like, certain things about Kamala that, like, you know, you have a right to question. But right now it's more so about, like, can we just get back to like what normal politics should be? We can't do that with that guy. Like, I think that's the vibe. And I think I will give her credit though, because I think that, like, she can see that people are tired of the craziness, on both sides, and she's trying to, whether it's truthful or not, she does seem to be selling the idea like we need to work together here. If we're going to get back to normal, we need to come together to get rid of this man, and then give us politicians that genuinely want to work for America. When I think like there's even like a lot of Republicans that can see like this dude's just trying to stay out of jail. It ain't about him trying to make the country great. It's about trying to give a minority from that party a voice and validity in being hateful towards people that are different from themselves. And it's like, you know, I think the modern world, it's like a lot of people, no matter what side they're on, can kind of realize that there are people of all different kinds, you know, all throughout this country, and they each deserve a voice in the matter, and they each deserve to kind of win at life, you know? Because at the end of the day, we all kind of have very similar common goals in that, you know, we just want to have a family our own way and not be dictated on how our family should be. We don't want to be force-fed religions that we don't necessarily believe in. We don't want religion in politics. We don't want to take away women's rights to choose. It's none of our business what they choose over there. Like, they're doing the best thing that they feel like for their is best for their family. Let it be that. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's just crazy. Trying to mix religion and politics is just a bad route to go on anyway. Kamala wants to go back to the George Bush era, Obama era style thinking. Well, it's just that, like, I don't think it's that in a sense. It's just that, like, if America's going to survive and not become just more violent, it can't be what Trump is trying to make it. You know what I mean? He is trying to make people hate each other. And it's like, you can't be doing that if you're going to run this country. You're, like, scaring people into thinking all these, like, false things are true when it's like, it's not as bad as he's trying to make it be, and it is fixable, but y'all gotta work together in order to make it happen. Like, that's the thing. Like, you can't have people in politics that are just going to cater to one man and one kind of person. You need one that's going to be fair towards everyone and not, I don't know. I think one big thing is, like, trying to take away rights from people is where you're going to lose people even within your own party. Like, and I think that's exactly what happened. You know? He's pissed off a lot of people, and he thinks that that's going to help him win more people. Like, I feel like, I'm sure even his advisories were like, you can't be, like, trashing, you know, women and trashing, like, and, like, bragging about taking someone's rights away when, you know, there are a lot of people within your own party that at least believe in being pro-choice. Yeah, and that's the wild thing, Allison. It's that, like, he's not hiding the fact that he doesn't care. He's said it out loud. I think there was, like, one rally where he was like, I don't care about you, I just care about your votes. I would, you know, you can pass away as long as you put your vote in first. I don't want it to be the opposite. Like, it's things like that. And it's like, and then you have them scratching their heads when they get, like, stuck in the desert for 4 hours because the buses aren't coming anymore because they didn't make sure that, like, you know, everything was organized enough to get people back to, like, get people back to their homes. Like, those poor people out there were stuck out there for hours because he didn't, or he, like, I know it's not solemnly Trump's fault on that. It's whoever organized this rally. But there was clearly no thought process into what these people will do to leave the rally. Like, that shit's sad. I saw that shit last night and I was like, oh, like, and even then they're like, oh, it's a conspiracy, the Democrats did this, and you're like, oh my god, help these people, like, open their eyes, please, for the love of God. I don't know. I'm of the belief is that, like, it's such a cliche line, but when someone is telling you who they are, listen to them and believe them. I think Nina said something like that, like, about Ava, but it's true. Like, damn, like, oh, nobody paid the buses. Oh, Lord. I mean, even that wouldn't, I don't know if that's true or not, Angel, but that, like, the fact that he's been kind of known for not paying people, that wouldn't surprise me. Trump said he would withhold money from California to fight forest fires because we won't support him. And see, that shit ain't right. Like, you can't be doing that just because these people don't like you doesn't mean you don't help them. You're running the country. You're not running your fans. You're running your country. That's the piss off about it. Yeah, you can't even lie anymore. Yeah, it's because everyone can... Well, not everyone can see it. Some people just either see it and don't care. Lord, fix it, Jesus. Yeah, people either just don't care that he's lying because they like that he, like, quote unquote owns the libs or whatever. And then there's, like, I don't know, people that just can't see it. They don't hear it. They're not paying attention. Maybe, I don't know. There was this, I forget whose podcast this was, but not that long ago, Trump was in an like almost like a YouTube-y, like, podcast, like something that's just on the internet, talking to, like, his supporters, and he said something to the effect of, like, I'm the most truthful guy anyone's ever known, and even that guy laughed, because, like, he knows it ain't true. He doesn't care, I don't think, but he knows it ain't true. I don't know. Yeah, that's the scary part. They should care. Because, like, the sad reality is, like, you can mock Trump fans for being quote-unquote stupid, but really, realistically, like, when you take away the sort of divisiveness of it all, like, at the end of the day, they're victims of a con man. That's like openly conning them, and there's people, like, begging them to just, like, open their eyes and look, because, like, anyone that has no sort of dog in this fight can see that it's like, no, like, he's like, definitely there's choose not to see it. Talking politics, you're very brave. It is what it is. We're just having a normal conversation about it, and there's divisiveness, and in a perfect world, people can come together and focus on the things that bring them together, or you can sort of focus on the things that you hate about each other, and you get exactly what's going on in the States right now, where there's, like, this small chunk of very loud people that just want to be hateful and, like, hate on people and think that the countries shouldn't cater to anyone but people that are like themselves, and I don't think that's right. I mean, when you take away, like, the talks about, like, immigration and you focus on, like, the things that, like, I don't know, the things that you all want for yourselves, like, the things that you have in common with everyone, no matter what side they're on, Those are the things that need to be focused on first, and then you can sort of hash out the rest and try to find compromises that it's going to be suitable for people to at least turn things into the right direction. And to that end, I think, like, you know, there are I think people want to just not take baby steps, when like baby steps is kind of like the thing that you need to do in order to get somewhere. Like, you can't just jump to an extreme and get to where you want to, you know, get to, and just screw everyone else that's like trying to, you know, fix things slowly. All right, good night, Sandy. Good night, SLJ. Yeah, I should end this too, actually. It's after 10 here, and I got shit to do. But thanks for GH After Show and also politics. Probably shouldn't do this often. I'm sure I'll get many negative whatevers, many dislikes in this video, but it's fine. Before I go, I don't think we're going to live stream on Wednesday. We'll just live stream next Sunday. But I do... When is this happening? What day is this? I think on the 30th. Is that... Yeah, 30th is a Wednesday. Or not... Well, not necessarily that Wednesday. We'll see. Not this week, but one of the next couple of Wednesdays. I kind of want to do a, like, reaction to some, like, classic sweeps openings. Like introductions to sweep storylines, just because I've been missing them lately, and like I've been thinking about like how the Metro Court storyline started, how the black and white ball started, the hospital crisis, even like the virus outbreak, spooky GH time. I don't know about spooky, maybe, but there's not much spooky GH that we haven't already kind of looked upon. We'll see. The bottom line is, this Wednesday nothing. Yeah, like the hotel fire. But like this Wednesday nothing, and perhaps either the next Wednesday or the Wednesday after that, sweep stuff. If I can figure out some spooky stuff, if you guys know spooky GH content that you would want me to react to, like, once this video is done streaming, go into the comments, or like, you know, go onto my community page and just like make suggestions. Yeah. All right, but good night, y'all. Mwah. I will see you this Sunday for the next GH After Show, and hopefully my my live stream doesn't freeze as much as it did today. All right, good night.